Okay, we are now on the record at 1:08.
Good afternoon, board members. This is just a general docket for the community members in the audience benefit. We're starting some administrative matters first. For the board members, so first on the general meeting docket is the 2026 hearing calendar. Do you have, I think you have a copy in the file. I mean, so basically formality, but we need to adopt it and approve it. So let me know if you have any discussion. Otherwise, would ask you to approve it. And
This looks fine to me. I'm a yes for the approval of the 2026 meeting calendar.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
easy, thank you. And then we have a whole list of dismissals that are shown in the docket for the alleyway. I guess we can do them all together. The alleyway and footway administrative dismissals for the general reason, which is that the Department of Transportation did not provide notice. So we can.
Yeah, I'm in favor of dismissal.
I'm in favor.
In favor.
I'm also in favor of dismissal.
Great. I think with that, we are ready. I know people are still signing in, but we'll get started in the interest of time to switch to the 1 p.m. zoning docket. Great. Okay. Good afternoon.
Did you have any resolutions?
Oh, thank you. I guess we'll just do that now, since if you already had a chance to read them. Before we go to the zoning docket,
The resolutions.
the resolutions in front of you are from the October
21st.
Thank you. October 21st, November 4th, and November 18th calendar. They've been drafted, and I already signed it just to save time, but if you have comments, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I ask you to vote to adopt them all, or say you approve them to be issued officially, and we'll make them dated as of today.
Yeah, after reviewing the resolutions, I have not noticed any mistakes, and so I am in favor of adopting them as written.
I'm in favor.
Also in favor.
Also in favor.
Great. Easy. Moving right along. So now we are going to be moving to the 1 p.m. zoning docket. Good afternoon, everybody. I guess watching online and in the audience here. Welcome to the December 2nd, 1 p.m. docket for the Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals. My name is Justin Williams. I am the acting executive director of the BMZA. The board members here this afternoon are David Marcosi, Victor Clark, Leland Shelton, and Liz Cornish. We ask everyone in the audience, please turn off your cell phones and take any conversation you need to have in the lobby. This is because we are being heard and recorded by the court reporter who's sitting here to the left of the board members. And also the cameras on the ceiling are recording for, I think, Charm TV. We ask that when your case will be called, you come up, either the applicant will come up and speak first. We ask you to introduce yourself and spell your name for the court reporter. You'll be asked to take an oath before giving testimony. People who are in opposition or support who aren't the applicant would also be asked to come forward. If you haven't already, I'm sure everyone has, but if you haven't signed in, if you intend to testify or speak on any topic, please do so now. Everyone planning to speak, including attorneys, applicants, those in favor, those opposed must sign in. For your reference, the board will probably be voting on every appeal today, but that vote is not final. By law, we, the BMZA, must prepare a written document called a resolution, which requires drafting and review. This process takes several weeks. We will send it to you by email. If you are the appellant, you'll be able to access it through Acela, but again, even if you are approved, we ask you do not build in Baltimore until you receive a permit. The resolution is not a permit, it's just a resolution that this board approved your case. You still need to apply for all necessary permits. As I mentioned earlier, we have two postponements this afternoon. The first one is case 25173. This is 700 West North Avenue in the Reservoir Hill neighborhood to build 52 dwelling row home development. This case is being postponed to 12/16. Additionally, so that case is again 25173, 700 West North Avenue. The case is being postponed. The other postponement is 25-182. It's 703 North Fremont Avenue. That case is also being postponed to December 16th. I think with that, Mr. Chair, we are ready to proceed with the first case in the docket.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out here today. A little bit of housekeeping. I will call cases as they, I will call cases. The applicant, please feel free to come and have a seat. If there's anyone today who wants to speak either in support or opposition, please also feel free to come to the front. First, I ask you to stand and be sworn. Before you speak, please spell your name for our court reporter. As you guys will see, there's these little small microphones. When you speak, press this button. If the light is green, the microphone is on. So please do that. I ask that if anyone is speaking today, to please try to ensure that your testimony is not duplicative of any prior testimony of others. I promise you that we have received every letter of support or opposition. We are listening to everyone that speaks today. And so just out of the interest of time, out of respect for everyone gathered here today, we just want to make sure that people who are speaking are adding something new or something that maybe we haven't heard before, so we can get out of here in a respectable time. And so now I'm calling case number BMZ Appeal 25062, 2118 East Monument Street. The appellant is Treeway Multi-Treatment Services, LLC. The proposal is use the property as a healthcare clinic. First, we'll hear from planning and staff.
Chair, can I just interject and do the one more housekeeping thing that I think we missed, which is silence your cell phones? And then if you have to have a side conversation, please do it out in the lobby.
Good afternoon. Justin Walker, Department of Planning. Case 25-0062, 2118 East Monument Street is an application for a conditional use for a healthcare clinic in the C1 zoning district. We note that it's in the Middle East Urban Renewal Plan, but that does not preclude the use. Planning has spoke with the applicant for a few conditions, which we are recommending for approval. The conditions being that the operator ensures no queuing of patients are allowed outside of the building, and that they wait interior inside a waiting room, that controlled access to the building be maintained, and that hardwire security cameras are installed and maintained on the property. With those conditions, Department of Planning recommends approval of the appeal.
Thank you. First, I want to ask you guys to stand and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And I imagine one of you is Ms. Richardson.
No, Barney Richardson is the owner, he's not here.
Okay, can I have your name? 1 second. Your name?
I am Erica, E-R-I-C-K-A, Alston, A-L-S-T-O-N, Buck, B-U-C-K.
Thank you. And your name is?
It's Chantel Mann, with a C, C-H-A-N-T-E-L. Last name is
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair?
Thank you, guys. Please tell me about your project.
I'm Erica Alston, Buck, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Treeway Multi-Treatment Services. We specialize in behavioral health services and have since August 22. This proposal is for a new location. We're currently located at 3730 Falls Road and have been fully operative since 2022.
I'm sorry, please turn your microphone.
My name is Erica Alston Buck. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Treeway Multi-Treatment Services. We operate behavioral health services in Baltimore. Our main location is at 3730 Falls Road. 2118 East Monument is our proposed psychiatric rehabilitation program site, where we will provide case management, therapy, wound care, drop-in services for those in the community seeking services.
Will you be prescribing medication at this location?
We do not prescribe medication. However, one of our resources is to have a psychiatric nurse practitioner visit once a month to provide community medication prescriptions on a once-a-month basis, so not
Will there be
regularly.
any dispensing of medication on
No
site?
dispensing of any medication. No medication will be on site.
Okay. Any other questions? After listening to the applicant's testimony and reviewing their application and supporting materials, I have not seen or heard any evidence that would lead me to believe that the negative effects of having a healthcare clinic here at this location would go above and beyond what would be expected of anywhere else in the zoning district. And for those reasons, I am a yes for this application.
Thank you.
Would the board like to adopt planning's recommendations?
Subject to planning's recommendations, yes.
I am also a yes, subject to planning's recommendations.
I'm a yes, subject to the planning recommendation.
Also yes, subject to planning recommendations.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
That's short and sweet.
I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. Going to save cases with opposition for later in the hearing. So now I'm calling case number 25-153, 300 South Alamont Street. The appellant is Phil Stetler. The proposal is to build a telecommunications facility. First, we will hear from planning and staff.
I believe some people might have shown up in opposition for this one.
Oh, so everything has
So-
opposition. Okay, well. Once again, if you are here today to speak in opposition to this case or any other case, I want to make sure that you guys signed in if you missed it. And after the applicant speaks, opposition will have a chance to speak, and then the appellant will have the last word. And so after we hear from the appellant's counsel, I will then ask anyone who's here to speak in opposition to come forward. But first, we'll hear from planning and staff.
So 300 South Elamont Street, Appeal 25-153, is a request to use the property as a telecommunications facility, which will include the construction of a 150-foot monopole. On the site, this is a conditional use in the Industrial Mixed Use 1 zoning district. Planning has no objection to the appeal. We would just like the applicant to clarify one portion, which is that the code requires that any monopole submit a fall radius zone with their plan. According to the applicant, there's a 0-foot fall radius. Planning would just appreciate if you could clarify exactly what that means, but other than that, there's no objection to the appeal.
Tell me about your application.
Do I need to be sworn?
No.
Okay, perfect. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Doug Sampson. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Saul Ewing, here representing the applicant. Also with me today are Julie Erb from American Tower and Phil Stetler from SiteLink Wireless. If their testimony is needed, they're available. However, I'll keep it kind of short and sweet. The materials in our application remain accurate and true for the application that we're putting in. This site is being proposed as replacement coverage for a current telecommunication facility, which is located at 3221 Frederick Avenue. That's about 800 feet away from the proposed site here. That building is frankly falling apart. It is in very poor condition. I asked American Tower for an update today on when there's a date certain that the telecommunications providers need to be off that building, and the day is yesterday. It is in bad condition. Workers cannot get on that roof unless it is by crane, and that they are hooked into that crane. So the building is falling apart. It is unsafe. And so what will end up happening is all three wireless providers, Verizon Wireless, AT&T, and T-Mobile, are currently located on that building, and all of those sites will have to be decommissioned. And so what will happen if there is not an alternative site available is you'll end up having a blackout and degradation of wireless coverage in this area. That's both emergency and non-emergency wireless services. We did look for alternative buildings of an appropriate height where this could be relocated as a rooftop facility, and there simply are not any in this area. So it was determined that a new tower would be required. We chose this because it's an industrial parcel within the coverage gap, again, about 800 feet away from the current facility, so it will meet the coverage needs and replace the existing coverage as it currently exists. And also because this is a non-residential industrial use, but in close proximity to residential areas and commuters, specifically Route 1, that desperately need this wireless coverage. The proposal is a 150-foot monopole. That is the minimum height for basically all three providers to be able to do it. So the primary carrier right now is Verizon Wireless, and then there would be up to 3 co-location opportunities as well. And we expect and fully anticipate AT&T and T-Mobile, who both submitted letters of intent with this application, to move over to the tower as soon as it's built. And so part of the need for the height of 150 is not just for Verizon, but to have viable co-locations for additional providers to fill in their coverage gap. Because right now in the building, they're all at the same height, but we're going to have to stack them on the tower. Generally, the photo simulations, which I have additional copies of if anybody needs them, and also site plans, generally this is not visible in this area. There's a lot of trees and infrastructure already, which helps to screen this tower. We took photos from 18 different locations during a balloon fly, and only 6 of those was the tower visible or partially visible. The closest dwelling is about 170 feet away. So it's beyond the 1-to-1 ratio of 150 feet, and most of the other dwellings in the area are much further away than that. The Maryland Historic Trust confirmed there's no historic properties affected here, and I'll address planning staff's comments about the fall zone. So I know it sounds a little unique, but our engineers said that this particular tower is designed to withstand pretty much everything except a complete act of God, and so these towers are generally over-engineered and over-structurally engineered to be able to handle excessive wind speeds, excessive pressures. And so the engineer for this, and it's a little beyond me with an engineering degree, but the engineer certified that the fall zone is basically 0, that this tower is designed not to fall, even in the most extreme conditions. So I would also point out that this is set back at least 150 feet from all nearby buildings and infrastructure. So even if it were to fall directly over, it would not land on any buildings or dwellings or infrastructure in the area. But if the board requires additional clarification from our engineers or a certification letter beyond what's in the application, we're happy to provide that. But beyond that, our application remains accurate and complete, and we believe that this should be approved for a conditional use.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You'll have a chance to speak after the opposition, but now I want to ask if there's anybody here today who wants to speak in opposition, please come forward. Please first stand and be sworn.
Paul, do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you state and then spell your full name?
Mark Willis, Mark M-A-R-K, Willis, W-I-L-L-I-S.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chair.
Say Jimmy Green.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah. The community is really to us, and at least probably got 10 or 15 people want to speak. It's a historic community to us. Nobody helped us to keep the community clean, develop it, this and that. But for people just want to come and do their business and then say, oh, it ain't historic. We got people that have been there 80 years. Most of these people been there 50. And nobody came to us with dignity and say, hey, we want to do this. People walking around putting paper signs on poles. Ain't no state, a delegate, city councilman, nobody here to say what this project is about. So we as the community, we want better respect for how this project is going down and come to us in a decent manner and have a meeting with us and say, what this could benefit your community. Nobody is telling us what is benefit to us. You know, everybody just telling them how they're going to build and line their pockets with finance. But what finance is going to trickle back into the community? What jobs going to rotate back into the community? Nobody, none of these agencies, he said, ever came and put a flyer on our door, had a community meeting with us, but they need some power and a tower so desperately. There was an old brush company across the street that is dilapidating now, and everybody's saying, hey, we can move across the street and make our money over here. But I'm asking the board to really postpone this till we get some state and city officials in here displaying how this deal really going down. And my wife is the president of the neighborhood association. Nobody never counted. We got from Caton Avenue to Brunswick. We runs that whole strip. It's a historic graveyard there, the Mount Olivet graveyard, Mount Oliver Street, Mount Font Hill, where Southwestern High School was at. And then we got people that saying, hey, nothing historic here. And we 100% black ownership. This is 100 houses, I'm just using a number. This is 100 houses, at least 80 of them owned by blacks and been ground rooted there for 50 to 80 years. And nobody had the dignity to say, hey, let's sit down and have a serious meeting with these people. So I'm asking, from my point of view, to postpone this till we get some state officials in here and our city councilman, John Bullock, and see what's go from there. How this project, how it's benefiting the community, how this project will, if it go forward, will say, look, we'll help put a new road in, we'll help to do this, we'll help this to beautify the community. That's my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I did want to make one point. As a board, we don't have the authority to unilaterally postpone a case. The applicant themselves, will have to consent or agree to any postponement of the matter.
Right.
But thank you for your statement.
All right. Appreciate everything.
Does anybody else want to speak? Okay.
Ladies, raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Are you both of you going to speak?
Yes.
Your name first.
My name is Greta, Greta. My last name is Willis, Willis.
My name is Pamela Bishop, Pamela. Last name is Bishop, Bishop.
Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon. I'm the president of the Mount Olivet Community Association. Have been the president for a very, very long time, over 25 to 30 years. Prior to me, it was Miss McQueen, Miss Barbara McQueen. We've maintained this community into its present state and have been those great people in the community. As my husband stated previously, that there was nothing but a paper sign that came in the community, and had not been for one of the residents to notice it by a poll, that we would not have known anything regarding to this meeting. The other portion that I want to add, because you said not to repeat or be redundant, I want to add that you speak about that the tower would not fall. There's no guarantee. They said that the Titanic would not sink, but it sunk. So if the tower was to fall, there are homes, there are residents that have been there for 40, 50, and 80 years. Some of the residents have been born in this community, which is, you're saying, 150 to 175 feet. When something falls, debris scatters. So that is my testimony, that is my concern in regards to our residents, our seniors that are there, who are very vibrant in the community and very active in our community. So we would like more clarification and more guarantees for us. But don't come and tell us that something will not fall, break, or harm, because it could, and it does have the potential to do so.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Bishop, and just like Ms. Greta said, our president, I've been there for 40 years, and what I've noticed, like with that sign, which really irritated us, that, if one of my residents hadn't seen it, we would have never known about this. So it's like heartbreaking to me that you know, Verizon, he said AT&T and T-Mobile want to come into our communities. So how do we benefit from this? So if there's a tower somewhere else, then why do we need another tower? It's a tower up in the 4100 block, no, 4400 block of Frederick Avenue, which is not that far away from us. So why do we need another tower? That's my question and my concern.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Maybe for efficiency, if anyone else, swear everybody, anyone else going to testify besides this woman here, maybe we can swear everybody in at one time.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, good idea. So everybody who's gonna speak, if you can stand for this case, if you're to speak, you can stand and raise your right hand, we'll get you sworn in. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
Thank you. Can I get your name first?
Shirley M. Carter, Shirley. M as in May, Carter, Carter. Excuse me, Hazel, Hazel, Hennigan, Hennigan. Yes, good afternoon. We are sisters and we are homeowners in the community. I specifically have lived in the community for 43 years, and I'm probably one of the youngest living there in the community. It's a long-standing community. My concern is what health effects will this tower have on our community? Over the years, in 43 years, I have seen the destruction of our community. We have so many businesses moving in, and I won't even say fly by night. They come in and they stay, and they are effectively tearing down our community. We have shops, we have cars everywhere, we have abandoned cars, and just the trashing of our community. We need to know what effects medically, health-wise, will this tower have on the residents of our community, because with all of the destruction going on, there has to be some residual fallout. And that's my major concern, not only visually, because we can maintain our property and our homes, but the surrounding is the businesses that's tearing down our community. And that's a major battle, is fighting the businesses tearing down our community. But the health effects, we really need to know the outcome of that. We need some forecasts. We need to see something on paper. Has a study been done to see how this will affect us living in such close proximity to this tower? We can't just pack up and move. We need to know. We are there. We have been there. We are maintaining. We are helping Baltimore, but we need Baltimore to help us. We really need Baltimore to help us, because this is going to drastically affect us. And we don't need to know after the fact, when we're running back and forth to the doctors in the hospital, that it's because of this tower that we're going through these situations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. I'm Shirley M. Carter. Hazel is my sister. I've been in the neighborhood for 53 years. I've raised 4 children, 9 grandkids, and now I'm raising 12, soon to be 13 great-grandkids in that Mount Olivet community. When I moved there years ago, very few people, not even the cab drivers, knew where that area was, on the other side of Fon Hill and on the other side of the cemetery. Yeah, so we're proud of our neighborhood. We're proud of it to the fact that we want to keep it as a place where, oh, where is that place? But the gentleman here that spoke, could he give us his name? We don't know who we are, having to raise our concerns with. Like our former speaker said, nothing was ever put up. We have a viable community association. My late sister was the president. It goes all the way back. But we just want to know that whatever you're planning, we're sort of wary of a tower. Is this picture on the wall represents?
Ma'am, I want to instruct you to please direct your comments to the
Oh, sure,
board.
okay. Is the picture on the wall representing our community? Is that it? Yeah. It looks kind of familiar. That's Elamont.
Please, on one speaker at a time.
Okay.
That is the proposed site.
Okay, that's the proposed site, but
up in that area where those cars are. We have a business on Elamont right now. It's a shop, whatever. They bring in old beat-up cars, whatever. They work out in the streets of Elamont where we can't get through half the time during the day, even on a Sunday. I'd like to know where in that picture is this tower going to be? Where the red mark is?
I believe it's gonna replace the existing structure.
I can put up a copy of the site plan, but I guess maybe obviously.
Actually up north of that building, so it's kind of.
What-
You haven't been
Employees
sworn
has to-
in, so
yeah.
you have to not speak because you have not been sworn in.
So
So we'll give you all an opportunity to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so
like-
just, I'm gonna pause it right there, one quick minute. Just a matter of decorum. The hearings are being recorded by our court reporter, so we can have a really clean transcript. So we really ask that one speaker speak at a time. And if somebody does want to speak, you will have opportunity to come here, come to the mic or the lectern and speak. Please do not speak from the audience, and please direct your comments to the board. So, thank you.
Okay, and to the board, we do not want the tower. One main reason is because we know nothing about what are the benefits or negatives about the tower. Like I said, our president said, we are a community, we are proud of our community, and we don't want just anybody coming in, seeing some space and wanting to construct something there. Please come before us, respect us as a community in Baltimore City. That's why so many neighborhoods are dilapidated, looking a mess as they are now, abandoned homes. We take pride in our neighborhood, in our homes. Like I've said, I've been there 53 years, and it's a great community for raising kids. We have the Seed School, and we also have we used to have some neat playgrounds up in there and rec centers. All those things are gone now. So it has changed over the years. We have now the shop, whatever they call it, with all the abandoned cars. We don't want that. So whatever business is coming into our neighborhood, please come to us. You can find out, we'll give you our address when we have our meetings, and come to us and let us know what is being proposed. As citizens of Baltimore, we deserve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any other, anyone else care to speak in opposition to the current application? Please come forward.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah,
Can you state and spell your name?
Carol Mercer, Carol, Mercer.
Thank you.
So I have to press this? It was already green. Okay. I have just one question. So I've been living there since, 57 years. And we have a lot of kids, or we had a lot of kids, but my grandkids still come around, and my sister's grandkids come around. And we also, where they want to put the tower at, is that we block off the street. So what happens when we have a block party, and how does that affect what we're doing at that point in time? With all the kids running up and down, basketballs and stuff playing around. That's the question that I have.
So your question is, what will access be like around the site?
Yes,
Okay.
and how does what they're putting up gonna affect with the kids running around?
Okay, I can't answer that, but I will make sure I ask that question when they next have a chance to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For clarity on the record, could you describe, is it the street here?
Elamont, yes, and where he said is there is a fence there though, but we block off the street because there's another on that street. There's a lot there, also. So we block off the whole street, plus they have that lot that's on the right-hand side if you're coming up, on the left-hand side if you're coming down. But where he wants to put it is either left or right, whichever way you're coming.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, just want to make sure I don't miss anybody who wants to speak in opposition. Has anybody who wants to speak have had an opportunity to speak? Okay, Mr. Sampson, first I want to ask you to answer the young lady's question about access to the site. And then also, I would love for you to discuss more about community engagement. One of the common themes that we've heard from the opposition is about community engagement. And could you please discuss what that looked like for you?
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, from an access standpoint, this facility will be located on the interior of the property. It is going to use an existing access way. And as you look at the property here, it's not going to replace that existing building. There's actually a clearing to the north of that triangular parcel, and this is already graded land where it's going to be placed. It's going to be in the middle of existing mature trees, and the compound itself will be fenced. So there will not be any access to the public, and again, it will be set back off the street. As far as, if you're worried about traffic or access, once the facility is up, it's an unmanned facility. There's a technician that comes by 3 or 4 times a year just to inspect the equipment, make sure everything's in good working order. But beyond that, there won't be any increase in traffic or access issues that way. I did hear a lot of the comments that you're mentioning about community engagement, and my apologies that people took it that way. We did comply with the requirements of the Baltimore City Code and did reach out to the Historic Society to confirm that no historic properties were impacted. That said, I'm happy to have follow-up conversations with this community association. Part of the issue here is, again, the emergent situation we have with the building that is decrepit and needs to come down. And so this has been kind of on a faster track than we may typically proceed with some of these zoning hearings because of the urgency with that. But I'm happy to provide my information to Ms. Willis as the president of the Homeowners Association, and we can provide a bunch of information on both the application, what it will look like in the future, and health effects. I do want to just touch on health effects. As a municipal board, I think you know that the FCC regulates that, and it's a preemption issue that local boards can't consider. But I also understand where they're coming from. This is their home. This is their community. The World Health Organization, the American Cancer Society, a number of other reputable health organizations have all investigated the effects of having these antennas in communities and have found no adverse health effects related to having telecommunications antennas in your area. We're also not adding any new antennas. I mean, this is going to be a net neutral because there's 3 sets of antennas on that building, and they're just moving 800 feet away. It's going to be 3 sets of antennas going back on that tower. And from a health effects standpoint, if you look at most major hospitals in most major cities, they tend to be the tallest buildings in the area. All of these hospitals have these antennas on top of them. And that's some of our most vulnerable from a health perspective in our population. So I understand the questions about health effects. It has been scientifically studied at length, and there's been no health effects that have been attributed to that. I also heard some questions about what the benefit is to the community here. And this isn't a financial grab. This isn't a company coming in and trying to, make money off of this community. I mean, these antennas are already there. If we didn't have to move them, it'd be a heck of a lot cheaper just to leave them where they are instead of building a new tower. The goal of this is to maintain and improve wireless broadband services in this area, including this neighborhood. And that's both emergency and non-emergency. And as part of our application materials, we also submitted AT&T's FirstNet materials, which they told us to submit as they are part of this. They've already committed to coming over to the tower. And FirstNet is a dedicated first responder network. So it was created by the 9/11 Commission following the terrorist attacks on September 11th, when the cellular and broadband networks became so gridlocked that people couldn't get through and first responders couldn't respond the appropriate way. And so that is another service that's going to be part of this tower. So, the benefit to the community is to maintain emergency and non-emergency communication services, which, in the remote environment or hybrid environment we're in, means sometimes school on snow days when my kids ended up having their school closed today unexpectedly, or, a lot of other services that we have and that we've come used to for remote work, remote learning, remote worship. So I hear what everybody is saying today, and we are happy to have further follow-up conversations with the community and to get them involved in the conversation and to provide them with more information. But again, the goal here is to quickly and efficiently replace the cellular coverage that is absolutely going to be lost when that building has to be decommissioned.
Okay, I have a couple questions. First of all, you received the notice to post on October 28th.
Correct.
That is plenty of time to engage the community on this. Also, the picture of your posting, I'm not convinced that it meets the standards. It needs to, I mean, that's.
Staff, have you guys had a chance
Staff,
to
have
look
you
at
had
the
a chance
posting?
to look at this posting? It does not appear, I mean, I can't tell, but it does not appear to be 4 feet wide and 3 feet tall with 2-inch lettering. And I know they received the proper instructions.
Are you looking at the handwritten one?
Yes.
Because they did have to repost,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if the updated one is saved to the file, so let me just check on that.
Okay, so I don't have the updated posting in the file, and was the updated posting within 21 days of the hearing? Because I think here's the frustration. I am completely understanding of this is a really important piece of infrastructure to the city, so that is not lost on me. And the fact of that it currently exists in an unsafe area and that you needed to move urgently, I understand that as well. But it doesn't have to move so urgently because you still had to follow the rules of the BMZA, which meant that this posting had to be up on October 28th. And if this was your first attempt and you're talking about having AT&T and T-Mobile and all of these other big businesses related to this cell tower, that's just insulting to the community. And that's very frustrating to me because if this is a very important infrastructure project with a very, clearly an organized business behind it, I just don't understand how you can't follow the simple instructions. So that's just the first thing I want to say. That's just frustrating to me because I think as a matter of course, it is logical to say there is an unsafe situation for an important piece of infrastructure related to safety. I get that because cell service, adequate cell service is about safety. It's about safety to the residents as well. So I'm sympathetic, but you also have to understand that if there was a cell tower that's on a decrepit building, and that is unsafe. And so what they're proposing is a new tower that meets new safety requirements in very close proximity to where the existing tower is. So I am sympathetic to that, but I think one of the things that I want to get across to the community is there's some infrastructure issues and some safety issues related to having a cell tower in that area and in that location. And so there may not be, in terms of my opinion, I do take that seriously. But this posting issue is just really frustrating, and to have so many neighbors come up that are clearly engaged in their community, that keep eyes on tabs on things, to just not have even put a business card in a mailbox seems like has a minimum effort. We have projects that come from a single person wanting to put something in a corner store that do a better job than you all did. And that's just really unacceptable. Then I have other questions. On the property where you're relocating it, I can see from at least the overhead, and I don't know how long ago that picture was taken in terms of the Google Map data, but is that replacing that property? Is essentially what it looks like is a chop shop? Is that going away once are you taking ownership of the property or just leasing the space?
We are not taking ownership of the overall parcel. We are leasing space from the property owner. And it will not affect the existing building that is on the parcel. It will go to an already cleared and graded area to the north.
And so whatever business is existing on that site will remain?
Correct.
Okay. What is the construction timeline? If you were to receive the resolution, let's say 21 days from now, post our decision, what's the construction timeline on one of these towers?
Give me just a moment.
You'll need to be sworn, ma'am, and then you'll need to come to the front and speak on a mic.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you state and spell your full name?
Yeah, my name is Julie Erb, Julie. Last name Erb, E as in Edward, RB.
All right, thank you. Can you talk to me about this construction timeline?
Yeah, sure. I'm Julie Erb. I work for American Tower. I also live in Baltimore. So our plan, what we really wanted was to get the antennas off of the existing rooftop before winter, before heavy snow. Right now, the rooftop is 100% restricted. No one's allowed on there. Some of the antenna equipment is, in jeopardy. So ideally, if we were to get a zoning approval, we would file for the building permit, which would probably take about 60 days. And then from the building permit, it would probably take about a month or two to get the material and, the construction started. So really, we were aiming for like April or May of 2026 in an ideal situation.
Talk to me about the construction timeline, though. So permitting aside, once you receive notice to proceed, how long does the construction of this tower take?
So the construction itself would probably take about a month. And there's just different processes. So you have to start with a foundation, and then you set the tower, and then there's ground equipment and the compound. So it doesn't take very long. And then after that, it would take about a week for each of the carriers to install on the tower. And then another week or two for them to be turned on air, which means, functioning. So providing cell service to the area.
So to simplify that, just so that the community has that information, let's just say notice to proceed to completion.
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
When you do these types of projects, what's the maintenance of traffic that you provide in terms of access and egress of construction equipment? Where does it stage?
Yeah.
And what type of maintenance of traffic do you need to provide on the surrounding residential streets?
Yeah, so for this particular site, we would access it from South Elamont Street, and all of the staging and all the material would be brought onto the property. So we wouldn't have any staging on the actual street. And it really wouldn't be too many cars or anything parked on Element, maybe just, a handful. But for the most part, everything is going to be happening on the property.
Okay. And then before I invite my other board members to ask questions, I do want to just make a clarification to the community as well. So with construction, they have to, especially in different areas of the city, they have to apply through the Maryland Historical Trust to make sure that not specific easements that are created by the Maryland Historical Trust are not being disturbed. And so it is an administrative process that MHT, Maryland Historical Trust, reviews. So I just wanted to clarify that that is different from the clear pride and clarity that you've presented of feeling like a historic community. So I think I just want to clarify that there's an administrative procedure related to Maryland Historical Trust they have done and that they have met. And we just have to separate those two issues out from you being very rooted in that neighborhood for a very long time. So I just wanted to clarify that because I think one of the questions or one of the comments that was talking about, they say we are not a historic neighborhood. It has to do with being a historic site as represented by a Maryland Historical Trust easement. So I just want to clarify that for you so you got some information about your question because I think that'll probably come up again. All right, those are my questions.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
we found the postings in our system for these are posted on November 6th, I believe, or at least that's the date of upload. After the staff flag finish.
Yeah, and what street is that on? Is that on Elamont or is that on the southern?
Based on.
Please, nobody speaking from the audience.
Based on the file, just the name, it has Mateague and then Elamont.
Okay.
But
All right, thank you.
Maybe obviously the applicant could testify or something if you wanted official confirmation.
All right.
Anyone else before I ask some questions here?
Any other questions?
I have some questions. So I think a couple of things. I have a couple of questions for you. First off, the comment about the requested fall zone is a little upsetting to me. It's a city requirement, planning requirement. I think your response was very facetious, that only an act of God would take down this tower. Well, guess what? Towers have come down. Structures have fallen. People have been injured. So should this be approved by this board, I would definitely agree with planning about this fall zone requirement. And anything else that comes about the requirements for the fall zone. I think that comment was actually a little disrespectful to the board and the community, actually. I think it's kind of important, if you're going to talk about introducing a replacement tower, I see that you had some exhibits about the services that the tower is going to offer both the community as far as connectivity. I think it'd be important if you would actually explain some of those exhibits that are in this package. Could you do that for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Mr. Williams, could you pull up some of those quick exhibits? And I'd ask you quickly to go through these because I think these are important to understand. So there is, I think it's on page 19 of our package. And I want to better understand this as well. So this page here, and then there's a couple more, there's 3 more exhibits that I think is important for the board and for some of the community members to understand what's going on.
Sorry, I missed your intention. You want to just see these ones or with other ones to go through?
More or less exhibits 2, from exhibit 2, so page 22 and down, I think is probably what I think would be helpful to understand what the exhibitors are explaining.
All right, so looking at this first map here, all this is showing is if you took out all of the other cell towers in the area, what the current site is providing. So green is considered good coverage. That is in-building, in-car coverage, shouldn't have drop calls, shouldn't have issues downloading internet websites as you're trying to download your mail, things like that. You get out to red, you start having issues. If you're in a building, you might lose coverage. You might not be able to download speeds at what you would consider full broadband. And then when you get outside of that red area, you would have no coverage, at least from this site. So again, this first map just shows in isolation the current existing site and what it's providing to the community in isolation. If you go to the second page, this now has the network as it exists today, but with the current existing site removed. So the current existing site you can see is that diamond there that is just below Frederick Avenue. And the circle that you see there up on South Element Street is the proposed replacement site, 800 feet away. So what you see here with that block of red in the circle there is what will happen when the building is decommissioned, when those sites come offline. Now this is showing Verizon only. Let me clarify. We have letters of intent from T-Mobile and AT&T because they have similar maps to these, but they have not shared those maps with us for this application. But this is Verizon's network will basically have that whole block will be red, which means no in-building coverage, low broadband speeds, potential for drop calls, potential for inability to make calls. And then if we go to the third map here, this is what it would look like with the proposed site to replace that coverage. The green fills in. That's what's considered good, full, adequate coverage for your network to do in-building calls, broadband services, emergency services, things like that.
Mr. Williams, can you just hover over for the benefit of the community members, just noting that the diamond is the existing location, thank you, and that the circle is the proposed location. It was just small, so I wanted to zoom in and make sure that you all got to see that. Thanks.
And let me clarify, so the third map was for a temporary site. It's basically what's running there right now. And if you go to the fourth map, that will show the actual relocated site. So there's even more green there. So this is the coverage that will be provided by the site that we are proposing here today.
So I think what's important to understand here is that without the current towers that are currently on the roof across on Frederick, should those towers go away, or should that roof fail, then there's going to be a big problem with coverage in this area.
Absolutely
hence
correct.
the relocated purpose, which is I want to make sure that the community understands the importance of the tower for not just cellular and broadbands, whatever it may be, but also for emergency responders, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Think I'm out of questions at this point. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a simple numbers question. In your correspondence, you mentioned that you must have a minimum of 2 on the tower to be sufficient. Will this tower enable you to add additional over and above the capacity of the current tower?
Yes, so I believe that it's set for at least 2 additional wireless providers. So it's designed that it will have T-Mobile and AT&T, but there is additional space on this tower where other providers could co-locate their equipment as well.
And you have any idea what your max might be?
For one, I mean,
Well, it's definitely Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T, and those are kind of the main providers, in Baltimore. Dish Network, there would also be space for them if they wanted to come on. And then, sometimes we have radio stations or just smaller providers that are interested. And we could fit them depending on if the height worked for them. But definitely, the tower is built to carry all of the major cell phone providers.
and to kind of follow up on that, these aren't designed to have a maximum number. It's really just based on the height. If the height works for a provider, there will be space made for them on the pole. Sometimes that means municipalities or jurisdictions coming in and adding emergency antennas up there. Sometimes it's radio antennas. But there's not really a maximum for what the tower can hold as far as antennas. It's just limited by height because a lot of this is line of sight technology. So if you're below a certain height, it becomes kind of a redundant thing where it doesn't actually assist your network at all.
Yeah, my response to that would be, that's the kind of stuff the community want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, they don't want you to go from 2 to 200 because they're afraid of, physical contamination of some sort or whatever. So I don't know how they did not contact their councilman the minute they saw this, have him lead the charge. That's the decision they had to make. That's what city council people are for. And if you hadn't done that, the community could have approached you by calling our office to get contact information on you if you wanted to. So I'm not siding with anyone. I just want to let you know why they're concerned, in my mind, as to what the new tower will do. I'm sure it will be very advantageous for the community to have it. I think the city would prosper by having it in the right places where that type of service has not been of a volume at any point in time in the past that I can think of. But yet and still, they need to know that. And having these we always like to see the community involved in the decision-making process, because then you don't come back later to have a problem. That's all I want to say.
I had one more question. Could you just verify that there are not going to be any tension rod supports and the drawings that are showing that are just elevated at the tower? There's no additional structure requirement, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
This was, any other questions? Mr. Sampson, before.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Sampson, so your engineer certification says theoretically this structure may be considered to be designed for a 0-foot fall radius, but it doesn't say how it will be developed. Can you clarify that?
So I understand the concerns that have been raised in the fall zone, and I can commit to a condition that we will provide an updated engineering certification letter to make this more clear. Clearly, it's something that has. I don't want to come off as disingenuous to the board. Really is not my intention. But we are happy to have a condition go in for our engineering team to have a better certification on that to make it more understanding for the community. I
Just feel like that should have been provided before the hearing. We did ask about it, so I'm just wondering. why y'all haven't addressed that.
I'm sorry, when did you email us on that? Or?
Justin Walker emailed y'all, I think it was last week, the week before.
Okay, I may not have been in that communication, but again, I'm not an engineer, so I beyond what's in that letter, I don't feel comfortable and making any representation to the board. But again, we're happy to have that as a condition of the application.
And is this the engineer who will be developing the project, or is this just someone who reviewed it?
It was the tower manufacturer is the one that we go to request the fall zone letter. And so that's what they came back with when we made that request.
If there are no other questions from the board or staff, Mrs. Sampson, I want to give you, when I ask if you have anything else to add before we begin to deliberate.
No, I would just add, we're happy to have a condition related to the fall zone there, and I am committed to reaching out to the community and having a conversation. Whatever happens right now, we'll have a follow-up conversation with the community so they're fully informed moving forward. I apologize if so many people felt that way. We felt we had complied with what's required by the code, but I understand the spirit that everybody's come here with today that we need to do more. So I commit to that moving forward, that we will make sure that the community is involved in those conversations and what's happening nearby. Even if it's just through construction, hey, here are the updates of what's going on. We can ensure that happens moving forward.
Noted. Thank you. I guess for the board, this is a conditional use application. If I'm reading this correctly, the use standards for telecommunications equipment are pretty much additional to the normal conditional use standards. There are some additional findings that we have to make, additional requirements that we have to make. It seems that for the most part, the applicant's materials and satisfy most of those requirements. That the requirement about the site plan for a new tower with indication of the fall zone, it was included, but we have a representation from the applicant that they would also be in favor of producing additional materials related to the fall zone, including an updated engineering certification. Are there any things we think that are not, sort of not available, not present in the application?
I think the challenge with the engineering letter is that, I get it. It's an engineer with a seal from the state of Maryland. They are legally liable for their assertion. But there's not clarity. I apologize for having one more question. Is this the engineer? Is this the same engineer or engineering firm that has developed the plans, has engineered the plans?
So it is the tower manufacturer. They do the foundation design and they do the tower design, and they manufacture the tower. And then American Tower has their own in-house engineering firm that use those designs to put together these construction drawings.
I think, the challenging situation is if we have the planning department saying this is not an adequate engineering letter, that it leaves something to be desired, and that they followed up with it, and that the applicant did not see the communication and has not yet provided it. I think that's where it's challenging for me right now. Because I think what is good about the application, so what is good is that as I was listening to the community's concerns, I was reviewing the file, and a lot of the community's concerns are addressed in the file adequately. And here's what you missed by not talking to the community, because you had all the data. And you could have gone to a community meeting and you could have addressed all of their questions with very clear, professional, and legally supported documentation. And so that's where we find ourselves today, is that regardless of, I think that between the bare minimum, which is adequate posting when we talk about community outreach, that's the standard, that's the legal standard, and it was done poorly. And you should note that for future projects in Baltimore City, that it's not necessarily the spirit of the law around community involvement, but the actual legal requirements around posting are not sufficient for me and were executed very poorly. So these are missteps between that and the engineering letter that are frustrating to me, because I understand the importance of the project and its value as infrastructure, not only for the residents in that community, but for the citywide. And so to have these errors arise is just frustrating. It makes it right now difficult for me to make a decision.
Any other comments? How long would it take for you guys to get an additional engineering certification letter to us?
I think we could probably turn that around in a couple weeks. And I think we'll have some internal discussions too about if it would be worthwhile maybe redesigning the tower in a way so that the fall zone, it falls within itself.
Yeah.
They can design towers that way. If that's the case, then it may take a little bit longer, because not only do we have to get a new foundation and tower design, then we have to rework the construction drawings. But we would definitely dig into that and get something that's better, that is understandable, and that shows if the tower falls, how it will fall and what's impacted.
Okay. I want to give you guys the opportunity, because for example, if you were to vote and it would be a denial, that's a 12-month that you have to wait before you can come back and resubmit. So I do want to offer the opportunity for maybe a postponement for a couple of weeks, so you guys can take a look, see if a redesign is even necessary, or if there's just a better supported certification letter that you guys could submit to us. Okay. I think that would allay a lot of other concerns that the board members have expressed today. Would you guys be interested in perhaps taking advantage of that postponement opportunity?
If you can just give me just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I after speaking with my client, the comments that are here today are well received, and we do think that it makes sense for the community and for our client to be a good member of the community to request a postponement to address these issues and come back before the board at either the next or the following meeting, maybe in first meeting in the new year.
Great. So Doug, are we guys in agreement that?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, and I think while you're using this period of postponement to improve the engineering letter, will you please make sure that the president of the community association or somebody here has your business card, and that you have the opportunity to just email them this file?
Absolutely, yes.
I think that's going to answer a lot of their questions and mean that when you come back, that while I can't speak for the community and they may still have challenges with this, that they'll at least have a point of contact to reach out to, and they will have documentation that some of their concerns are being addressed, they just weren't shared.
So I'm a yes for the I'm gonna be a yes for the postponement. I think everybody else here would be approved for that postponement. So Doug, you can just reach out to the staff to figure out how soon you guys can get back on the calendar. Okay. Thank everybody for speaking today, and I really appreciate everybody's concerns. Thank you.
Yes, I thank you, the members of the board, for your frank candor on this, and also to the members of the community. And I can tell you that the comments were well received and will be well used.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Calling. Now I'm calling case 25, I'm sorry, now I'm calling case 25-133, 2220 North Charles Street. Larry Arrington is the appellant. The proposal is used as a hotel with 8 rooms. There is opposition. I'm not sure if anybody is here today, but if you are here, please stand and be sworn after the staff gives their report. And so now we're here for planning and staff.
So appeal number 25-133 is regarding 2220 North Charles Street. The application is to use the property as a hotel, which in the C1 zoning district is a conditional use. Planning understands that this will be a reuse of an existing building. The property is currently authorized for 8 dwelling units. Applicant proposes constructing the hotel with 8 rooms. Planning recommends approval of the conditional use for the hotel.
Please stand and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Maybe your name, sir?
William Brodus, W-I-L-L-I-A-M-B-R-O-A-D-U-S. Larry Arrington, A-R-R-I-N-G-T-O-N.
Feel free to have a seat. Please make sure that the microphone is on when you speak. Tell us about your application today.
Currently, this is the owner, Mr. Carrington. They have a building downtown that's right now zoned as 8 units. They wanted a bed and breakfast, which was not zoned for. So they decided to choose the 8 hotel with 1 bed units. And that's what we're here to approve for.
Could you tell us more about why you chose this location? We gotta give us a little bit more.
A little bit more context.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So the address is 2220 North Charles Street. It was a mansion, and we went in and basically updated it. We're planning on having what we call a solo hotel, which means members only. Each of the door locks are sensitive to codes. You cannot get in the building without the codes. Mm-hmm. There are cameras all around the building. We're going to make it also an AI education center for the community, for those who want to learn about the AI applications and where they come from.
And that would be a separate application if you were to do that.
That's a classroom.
Okay.
Yeah. Both my daughter and I are from IBM, and we know the AI disciplines very well. So it's basically to teach people how the apps work.
I just want to make sure, would that require another use permit?
It's already.
It wouldn't be, because that's not a hotel use. That's not a hotel use. So you're here for approval of 8 hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Education facility is a separate use, and so I'm just saying that would be, yeah.
It's a hotel.
Okay, it's a hotel, okay.
And there's restaurants in there. We have some people that, and by the way, we just got support of several of the community. The radio station next door to me, they approved, I got their petition and their sign off. You got Shepherd Pratt across the street, they approved and signed off. McFabian, the restaurant behind it, approved and signed off. And the coffee shop behind it also approved and signed off. So we went to the neighborhood to make sure, do we have any concerns? And so far, everybody's been supportive.
Any other questions? After reviewing the application and hearing the testimony of the applicant today, I think this will be a great addition to the Old Gaucho neighborhood. And so I have not heard anything that will lead me to believe that the negative adverse effects of having an 8-room hotel at this location will be above and beyond the negative effects anywhere else in the zoning district. So for that reason, I'm a yes.
Is there anyone here from the opposition?
You're right. Is there anybody here today speaking opposition? I know we got a letter in opposition.
Okay, just want to check.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I neglect, I meant to, even at the beginning of the reading, even share that with you, trying to do a better job of illuminating the opposition or any letters we received. And so there's a letter from Mr. George Jackson in which he expresses concern over traffic, parking, safety, security, negative impact on neighborhood character, noise, and lack of community benefits.
I disagree with him. So I will be a yes for approval of this application.
I'm a yes.
I'm also a yes.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Man, my daughter wanted to make her presentation.
I thought I saw the councilman Blanchard here. Did he step out? Because I want to call his case next. Okay. So now I want to call. Thank you. Now calling case 25-172-50 East Montgomery Street. Chase Hoffberger is here to represent the appellant. The proposal is to build an enclosed patio in the backyard. First, we will hear from planning and staff.
So regarding repeal 25-172 regarding 50 East Montgomery Street, the request is for variances to allow the construction of an enclosed patio in the rear of the structure. So first, just some context on the building. To a casual passerby, this appears like a row house. It's constructed and has the form of the row house, but there is about a 3-foot gap between the row house and the neighboring structure. So therefore, it is technically under the code definition a single-family dwelling, which does have a separate bulk and yard requirements. Also for context, the enclosed patio has already been constructed and does currently exist, so this is a retroactive approval. The variances that have been requested are significant. They are as follows. There is a lot coverage variance. The attached dwelling may cover 35% of the lot area, 95% will be covered by the structure. Maximum impervious surface variance, 60% is allowed, 95% is opposed, 35% variance relief is needed. A required side yard of 10 feet is required, proposed 0-foot setback on the side yard. And finally, the rear yard requirement. Planning notes that because this is an enclosed patio, it is treated as part of the structure. There is no relief in the permitted encroachment section. The permitted encroachment section for enclosed patios, open patios are allowed to extend 8 feet into the required yard, but that is not the case for this structure. We do note some objections from the Federal Hill Neighborhood Association, which I'm sure they will address in their spoken testimony. But we do also want to note that this is in the Federal Hill CHAP district, and that an authorization to proceed was not obtained for this structure. And just also noting that even if approval is granted by the BMZA, the project would still be subject to CHAP concerns. Planning has, in general and specifically with this project, concerns with not following the permitting process, especially in this case as it is within a CHAP district, and there is a large structure that has drawn concern of the neighbors. So of course, planning likes to see people go through the process prior to construction and obtain proper variances and authorization to proceed from CHAP, not doing it retroactively. Also, just of note is that the property is designated for use as a single-family dwelling. Therefore, any events or activities that take place within the structure should be consistent with regular activities of a dwelling unit, as it's not authorized for other uses. But due to these concerns, as well as the significant community opposition to the large structure in the rear yard, planning recommends disapproval of the appeal.
Thank you. Stand and be sworn. Have you guys been sworn?
Do you want to just get everybody who's going to be testifying?
Yeah, and if anybody's here that is going to speak in opposition, I'm going to also ask that you guys stand and be sworn. We're going to do you all at once.
And then when you come up, we'll get your name and spell. If everybody can raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. What's going on, Mr. Hoffberger?
Nice to see you. Thanks for having us. And I'm here with my client, Mr. Yakov Kaplan, who is the owner of 50 East Montgomery Street. As Mr. Walker said, this is an appeal to, I guess, retroactively approve an enclosed patio in the backyard that extends over basically 95% of what had previously been the existing backyard. And we'll get into the approval standards in a moment. I want to recognize planning's comment and recommendation of disapproval, as well as the opposition that's here today, and the letter that we have seen from the Federal Hill Neighborhood Association. We did reach out to the Federal Hill Neighborhood Association through their Architectural Review Committee in June and asked them if they wanted to come over to the property and meet. At the time, we were still trying to figure out sort of what the order of operations was for kind of, again, retroactively handling the approvals for this process, knowing that we needed to go to the BMZA, knowing that we needed to go to CHAP, and the response that we got appropriately was that the Architectural Review Committee would prefer that we went to the BMZA first, and that we hold off on any discussions until this process concludes, because if you all were to deny this, there would be no need for a meeting. The BMZA under Ms. Witt's stewardship and CHAP at the time also met and sort of deliberated on the best order of operations and decided that this should go first. And so that's why we're here. And so to some extent, I want to talk a little bit about the process, because as Mr. Walker noted, the city doesn't really recommend building something and then asking for forgiveness later, and we get that. But that said, when you do get a violation and a citation, you are levied with fines, and you have to face those consequences. And then you are told to get a permit, and this is part of the process for getting a permit for this type of project. And so we are merely doing what we are entitled to do here, and what we're supposed to do. And so that, you know, we're not saying it's here and it should be allowed to stay here because it's here. This is the process to come here, and so we hope to meet the approval standards. Regarding the use, which Mr. Walker alluded to briefly, we do not deny that Mr. Kaplan is the director of Chabad South Baltimore, which advertises being located at this facility. To our understanding, this is not an appeal about the use. There are no code enforcement infractions regarding the use. And the violations that have come about have been about the structure itself. Okay. So we'd like to, you know, as best we can.
Yeah, we're going to talk about variances.
Deal with the structural variances for the patio, exactly. And then finally, regarding the design, because we understand that there are people who do not like the design. There are processes for handling the design. Certainly, sometimes design gets discussed at the BMZA. Design is dealt with a little bit more at CHAP. Again, we on our side would have preferred to have dealt with CHAP before coming here, but that's not the order that was provided to us, and so we would also hope to sort of limit discussion about design to the extent.
I can promise you that as a zoning board, we're going to talk about variances today.
Right. So let's talk about this property. As Mr. Walker said, this is a detached dwelling, but if anybody who was not on the zoning board or practicing land use or anything like that walked past it, they might see that this is consider this a row house. It's on a block of row house properties, and the separation from 48 East Montgomery Street is provided by a 3-foot alley that is on Mr. Kaplan's property. But the lot, if you look at a city plat, it presents sort of as a row house. The house itself looks a lot like an end unit of a row house. And there are issues with the practical application of the house itself for a row house that make it, or for the practical application for the house itself as a detached dwelling that make it sort of not feasible to exist as a detached dwelling. This creates sort of a peculiar condition for the property. because it can't really adhere to the setback requirements, the bulk and yard requirements of the property. And so we do think that is a peculiar condition that requires some type of relief from the zoning code. Now, typically when we've done this, I'm thinking specifically about some appeals we had last year. I represented clients in last year on West Street, Seldner Place, where we had similar types of instances. The board was willing to sort of consider the setback requirements for row house dwellings, and we would ask that kind of be brought into play here, which would, certainly technically we would still need variances from the detached dwellings, but if we could consider this as a row house dwelling, then it sort of.
So should we ignore the alleys?
What's that?
Should we ignore the alleyways on each side?
No, I'm not saying that you should ignore the alleys. I'm just saying that, well, why? In what context do you ask that question?
They detached them from the structures next to them.
Right. Well, yeah, the one on the west side is an alley that makes this a detached dwelling, but the house itself really presents as a row house. And so we think at minimum that this property should be sort of governed by the setback requirements or the sort of structural framework for a row house dwelling. The other issue is the neighboring properties on Light Street and the zoning classification of those properties. So if you look at that block there on Light Street, that's zone C1, and most of Light Street is zone C1. The 50 East Montgomery and most of Montgomery Street, that's R8. And Mr. Kaplan has a unique property in the sense that his property very directly abuts this C1 zoning. It is not the only instance in the city in which kind of there's a perpendicular relationship between C1 zoning and R8 zoning. But we did look pretty much at every single instance in the city, and this one is unique. And the reason why is this. C1 zoning, there's a rear yard setback. The rear yard setback requirement is there is no rear yard setback if there is an alley. If there is no alley, then it's a 20-foot setback requirement. Here there is an alley, so there is no setback requirement. The alley is 3 feet. This is the narrowest alley that exists in between these two types of properties in the entire city. And so Mr. Kaplan has an issue where the properties on Light Street can fully abut up to 3 feet away from his property. And in one case, it's 732. It already is. So if he walks out the back door prior to this structure being built, if he were to walk outside and look to the right, there is a building 3 feet away, which is irregularly close and creates really a spatial issue for him that doesn't exist for anybody else in the city. And so we think that creates a need for some type of separation from the neighbors, because these are 3-story buildings. Some of them are condominiums, so he could have upwards of there's 3 properties that abut his backyard. That could be 9 different tenants, 9 different property owners who live in these condominiums, and that's a lot of people who are looking out directly onto his yard. So that is sort of the motivation for creating this enclosed patio. In terms of the design, there are 2 sort of considerations for why the design was implemented as such. One is the pre-existing conditions of the property included a wooden fence around the perimeter that went all the way up to 5 feet from the property line in the rear. Mr. Kaplan, shortly after buying the property, replaced that wooden fence with a brick wall, and last year installed this patio on top of that brick wall. So the pre-existing conditions of the property sort of lend itself from a design perspective to doing this. And then the other is that he's got these 3 neighbors who can build out all the way up to the end of his property, and so he has a vested interest in creating some space and separation from those properties. So those are the reasons why the design might sort of why the extension went as far as it did, because we do understand it's a request for a significant variance, but that's the motivation for it. So there you have your peculiar conditions and your uniqueness. In terms of the other required findings, just reviewing the planning memo here, I just want to know, the planning had said that the action was caused by Mr. Kaplan's own doing. In one sense, that's true. He did build this structure. That is his own. But as I just said,
In one sense, he built it.
well, yes, but we're trying to look at the existing conditions that led to this. I mean, this is a challenging thing for us to address. You're supposed to present a case as if it's not built. And so it has been built, and we recognize that. The existing conditions prior to him building it were such that
Yeah.
the practical difficulty is imposed by the code, by the relationship between the R8 and C1 zoning, and also the classification as a detached dwelling. As to the matter of whether this is injurious to other property owners, certainly the opposition will say that it is. We would just note that if this were to be considered a row house dwelling, he would be allowed to build by right a certain amount. And this is a one-story structure cornered into a block that is all three-story structures. So it takes up less space than maybe folks might be letting on. We don't believe this has any impact on property values in a nice part of Federal Hill. And we do believe that this the variances would be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the code. The code functions to protect people's rights to space, privacy, and quality of life. In this case, in the case of 50 East Montgomery, the code has failed to do so by creating this sort of infringement on the space that a C1 R8 relationship would set up between properties. That has fallen through because there's this extremely small alley. And so because of that, Mr. Kaplan needs to take it requires some attention, extenuating circumstances when you be granted. The variance is not precluded by any urban renewal plan or the comprehensive plan, and in terms of whether it is aligned with the requirements of a CHAP district, again, we hope to address that later, sort of defer that. We don't see how this is necessarily detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. And so with that, I'll open for questions or turn over to the opposition.
Any questions, Mr. Hopperger?
I can start. I have a couple of them, but I want to just ask one question, and I'm going to just do a little bit more. I want to verify something myself. You had mentioned, can you explain to me again what your interpretation is of the allowable setbacks based off of being adjacent to an alley?
Yes, in a C1 and C2 zone, there are three zones in the city that perhaps don't require rear yard setbacks. Those are the C1, C2, and IMU1 zones. In the C1 and C2, the language states that no setback is required if there is an alley. But if there is no alley, then 20 feet is required. And in an IMU1 zone, no setback is required unless the property abuts a residential zone, in which case I think it's 10 or 15 feet.
Okay, so we're in a C1 zone.
We are in an R8 zone.
Sorry, we're in
the
an R8
properties
zone.
on light are C1.
So what does the zoning table say for R8?
For which, detached or row house?
Well, this is
This is a detached dwelling by classification, so
all right,
that's
so
25 feet.
So let's do that, 25 feet, right? Okay, so we're not assuming any other type of property or zone. This is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, so I believe in some of your explanations that if we were to assume that this were a row house, an attached row house, but it's not.
That's correct. If we were to apply, if we were to apply those standards based on the conditions of the property.
Okay.
So that I'm clear, part of your argument is that even though this house is in an R8, we should consider it as if it were not.
No, I'm saying that even though this property is classified as a detached dwelling, we should look at it within the framework of a row house dwelling because of its conditions. And then I am saying that it is in an R8, but it is a rare, perhaps solitary instance of an R8 property that abuts a C1 property.
Okay.
C1 properties.
All right. And so that is your basis for peculiarity.
Those two conditions,
Okay.
yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions before we turn to the opposition? Councilman Blanch, so we're going to turn to the opposition. Councilman Blanchard, I see that you're here. I'd love to give you the opportunity to speak if you would like to.
Councilman Blanchard, were you in the room when we swore? Or do you need to be sworn in? Yeah, thanks.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Can you state your name? Zach. Thank you.
Make sure the mic is on, press the button.
Check.
One more.
You know, weirdly enough, in the council chambers, red is, yeah, it's the opposite, so that is really confusing. So just briefly, this is a property that was brought to my attention, I think, it was like the day before I took office or something like that, about a year ago. So it's something I've had on my radar. I'm not talking about the land use. I'm not talking about if the variance should be, you know, given in this specific case or what the impact is, all those sorts of things. When we've had a couple properties I've seen like this across the district where you get a stop work and you keep working. It's like you have to stop the work. And this is something that, you know, we've seen particularly with the housing packages going on in this, is working through the city council right now. There's this very consistent concern about the city's ability to hold, you know, all property owners accountable to the same zoning code. And it's cases like this that make it really, that lead to a lot of distrust from communities. So I think it's really important for the board to be factoring that in. So that's my specific objection to this addition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If anybody will, you know, like to stand, speak in opposition, you know, you can come to the lectern, you can have a seat. Please state your name before you speak. And as a reminder, we are here today to discuss various variances to the properties. So let's try to keep our testimony concerned with the variances at issue today. Yes.
There we go. My name is Gregory Russell, for the record. So good afternoon, members of the board, and thank you for the opportunity to speak, or at least try to speak. My name is Greg Russell, and I live immediately adjacent to the property at 50 East Montgomery Street. I am here today to express my strong opposition to this after-the-fact zoning request. First, I want to clarify the status of the structure, which has been addressed before, but both the application and the posted hearing notice state an intent to build, but the structure was already fully constructed last November without permits, without inspections, and in clear violation of the zoning code. Vertical construction began on November 21st, 2024, and within days, a large enclosed glass and steel addition was completed, occupying essentially the full rear yard. A stop work order was issued on December 3rd, but work continued afterward, and the structure was effectively completed and has remained standing since. I've submitted digital copies of photographs to staff for the record, and I have brought printed copies for the board's review as well. These images document both the structure itself and the ongoing use of the space while still under stop work order. Throughout the past year, the space has been regularly used for gatherings, including nighttime use with bright interior multicolor lighting and the use of propane heat lamps inside the enclosed area. Because no permits were ever issued, the structure has never undergone the required reviews for structural integrity, fire safety, electrical safety, or ventilation. I have 2 young children who play immediately adjacent to this structure and many people who attend events inside it. The safety risks created by allowing occupancy of an uninspected enclosed addition are significant and they are ongoing. Second, the structure clearly violates the zoning standards that apply to all of us in R8. This property already exceeds several dimensional limits, including lot coverage, setbacks, and height. The addition's scale and enclosed design are inconsistent with the surrounding neighborhood, and no review or approval was sought before construction. Allowing this structure to remain would signal that a homeowner can bypass the zoning and permitting requirements, construct a full addition without oversight, and then seek approval afterwards. That precedent undermines compliance for everyone in the community who follows the rules, including many who have gone through the proper process for far smaller improvements. Finally, I want to address the requirement of demonstrating true practical difficulty. Under the zoning code and longstanding board precedent, certain factors cannot qualify as practical difficulty, including but not limited to conditions created by an owner's own actions, ordinary lot characteristics that are common to neighboring properties, personal preferences about desired use or convenience, and the existence of an unpermitted structure itself. Nothing about this property, which is unchanged since the owner's full renovation in 2022, reflects a unique, site-specific constraint that would meet the legal standard. Even if the applicant notes that their home is fully detached, which they have, that is a design choice rather than a constraint of the property or the land. And it does not create a practical difficulty. Nothing about the property's detached configuration prevents its reasonable use within R8 zoning. Finally, just a final statement about C1 versus R8 that came up before. It seems to me that the solution being presented by Mr. Kaplan and Mr. Hoffberger related to this C1 versus R8 zoning classification that they're speaking about is to create the exact same problem for me and my family, except that instead of 3 feet of setback, it will now be 0. So in conclusion, I want to state that there is no basis for a finding of practical difficulty in this case. And for each of the following reasons, I respectfully ask the board to deny this after-the-fact appeal based on the complete lack of prior approvals, the ongoing use of an uninspected enclosed structure, the clear violations of the zoning code, the inconsistency with neighborhood design character, and the precedent such approval would set for the community. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Do I need to submit these pictures?
We have.
You have them?
They're in your opposition letter.
Okay, thank you.
There were a couple more in there if you wanted to take them.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think these are largely, I think they're the same as what I submitted.
Well, there were a couple, I compared them to the ones we have in the file. And there were just a couple that we didn't have, so if you want to pass them out to the board, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. And whoever's next, feel free to come up.
Could I get a copy, sir?
Yes.
And I also have some
And if you would hand one to
photographs,
them as well.
which I wouldn't mind distributing before I speak. That's okay, because I don't believe you
Sure,
have these.
sure. But
Thank you very much.
before you give your test, make sure you let the reporter know your name. And please make sure you give one to staff.
I might be a little short, I apologize.
It's okay.
Maybe they can show what I'm here, because I
If
have
you
no
could,
questions.
yes, yes, sir.
And, there's some material here, and I'll let you distribute it, but I'm not gonna look at this.
No problem, thanks.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you for allowing me to come and testify. My name is Francis Landolph, and on behalf of the Federal Hill Neighborhood Association and the residents that we represent, we submit this testimony regarding the glass and steel event structure located at the rear of the residence at 50 East Montgomery Street. The Federal Hill Neighborhood Association Board unanimously approved this testimony. The structure was erected without any permits in clear violation of Baltimore City zoning, land use, and building codes. During the construction, cease work orders were posted by the city, yet the construction continued in defiance of those orders.
Throughout the building process, no city inspections occurred, despite the fact that the structure is substantial, permanent, and large-scale. We emphasize that this is not a minor alteration or an ambiguous improvement. It is not actually an enclosed patio, as described in the application. Rather, it is an attached structure built as a fully enclosed addition to the existing building. It serves as a large-scale events venue built for and already used to host events with an estimate of 50 guests or more, situated within a residential neighborhood and a CHAP district. And if you look at this...
I want to make sure we're clear on this. We don't care about how it's being used. We care about what's built and whether or not it fits the requirements of the variance requirements for the city. That's another issue that might come before us, but right now we're worried about variances of the structure.
Okay, so I don't need to tell you about a person who moved because of the noise that was created by the events being held in the structure. Is that correct? You're not interested in that?
I'm telling you, it's not relevant to the variance standards that we have for the side yard variance, rear yard setback, that nature.
Okay. Allowing the structure to remain would send a dangerous message that Baltimore City zoning regulations apply to only those who voluntarily comply. Residents across Federal Hill regularly submit their home improvement plans, accept the city's determinations, and adjust their products accordingly, even when such changes are costly and disappointing. They follow the rules because they respect the standards that protect our historic neighborhood. In addition, the basis for the variance is caused specifically by the homeowner's own actions. The owner built a non-compliant addition without submitting permits, having engineering or CHAP review, or allowing the neighbors to exercise their right to comment on how the variances would affect the enjoyment of their properties. In addition, the new structure is structurally attached to an existing contributing building in a CHAP district, which is contradictory to approval standards. The Federal Hill Neighborhood Association therefore urges the Zoning Commission to decline any request for after-the-fact approval of this structure, affirm the enforcement of Baltimore City zoning and building regulations, and require removal of the unpermitted venue in its entirety. I would also like to add a couple of other comments. I find it a little rich that one of the justifications for building this is for privacy when the building is made out of glass. And when privacy could be achieved through a trellis, some living wall, or something to that effect. That concludes my comments.
Thank you so much. And as a reminder, I want to, an issue of the variances needed are for maximum lot coverage, maximum impervious surface, rear yard setback, and interior side yard setback too for the east and the west. So those are the issues that we're here to discuss today. Anybody else here to speak?
My name's George Schillingsburg.
You spell the last name?
SHILLINGSBURG. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak. I'm George Schillingsburg. I live in 46, so 2 doors down. I do want to reiterate that essentially rezoning this as a C1, as they are asking, creates an even worse position, a worse encroachment on Greg Russell's property. I would like to point out that the 3-foot alley in between their two properties does not extend all the way to the rear of the property, as this enclosure comes up to the property line and creates a zero. So there is no alley. So the condition, there's no alley for the backyard between this enclosure and Mr. Russell's property. So the condition that they are using to justify putting this up doesn't exist anymore for Mr. Russell's property. In addition, the properties on the C1 zoned side of 50 East Montgomery were already in existence, already as is, and also that alley is, it seems to be bigger than the 3 feet, as you can clearly see on the picture that's displayed. So, there's that. And it also is not necessarily the corner condition that they say, because the properties to the rear that are on East Hughes have a setback that is in place. And so that alleyway contingency doesn't really come into play from a practical perspective in this situation. So, and also, it's made out of glass, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Feel free to come up.
My name's Al Freihofer, Freihofer, Federal Hill resident, 11 William Street, around the corner. And I understand that this is a variance question, not a use issue, but to me, can I click over the button?
Yeah, just press it once.
There
We're
we
fine.
go.
Yeah.
It seems to me the Venn diagram or the overlap between use and variance would have to do with issues of safety and liability. And I'm trying to imagine, based on the pictures that I've seen and a head count of upwards of 50, how the geometry, the ergonomics of placing those number of people in this confined space don't run into issues of extraordinary liability. We've all heard what we've heard today. I've heard glass enclosure, I've heard propane, I've heard 50 people, and my hair stands on end with what could happen in a structure like that unless it's been inspected and approved per code. So I just would raise the question of ongoing liability for a structure like this to remain intact without that kind of oversight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Haley Siglein. HALEY SIEGLEIN. I live on 49 East Hughes Street, so I am their direct backdoor neighbor, and seeing gatherings of 70+ people, also children being in there, 70 children with, in my backyard, bright neon lights staying on 24/7, doesn't help when my family is thinking of moving. And how do I sell this house when there is a giant structure behind us with neon lights and constantly having gatherings of 70+ people? I went over there several times, knocking on the door, asking for them to turn off the lights, and they said that they're move sensitive, so they turn off if there's no movement, but clearly there's constant movement in there. And we were never approached. None of the neighbors were ever approached about this idea. Nobody knocked on my door and asked if this would be okay. Just didn't speak to the community in general. And that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Also, guys, you don't need permission. Just come on up.
If I could go again.
Sure.
Just one more thing to add. The entire interior of that property was gutted, and it all went through the proper permitting process. So there's no fact of...
It's the same owner?
Yep.
Okay.
We weren't aware. It just can't be said that we weren't aware. That's why we're doing it retroactively.
Good afternoon. My name is Theron Russell, TheronRussell. I'm a 45-year resident of Baltimore City, and I'm here on behalf of my two grandchildren, ages 5 and 2, who live at 48 East Montgomery Street. So my son Greg and his wife bought 48 East in 2018, 7 years ago. They've made modest improvements over time after having obtained building permits, including rebuilding a rear patio and replacing its perimeter fence to create a safe, attractive, and inviting play area for their children. Mr. and Mrs. Kaplan bought 50 East 3 years later in 2021. I believe it was formerly a 2-unit rental building, and the tenants had used the backyard for cookouts and recreation. The Kaplans now report the property is used as a single-family dwelling. As you know, both properties are located in the R8 zoning district. You're all well aware of the setback and lot coverage violations presented by the unapproved structure, so I won't repeat them here. Instead, I'd like to cite the following. Among the general goals of this board, as stated on the city website, are 1, prevent overcrowding of land, 2, avoid undue concentration of population, 3, provide adequate light and air, and 4, secure safety from fire. The residents of 50 East Montgomery under previous ownership had no practical difficulty in using the backyard. In fact, we often observed cookouts and casual recreation activities occurring there without disturbance to the enjoyment of my son's property. The now existing structure, as you can see in the photographs that have been provided, looms over the rear yard of 48 East Montgomery, casting daytime shadows and lights at night into my grandchildren's play yard. I'm here to ask that you deny all of the requested variances, those pertaining to setback of the rear, of the side lot, the impervious surface requirements, and note in your decision, please, that the so-called, quote, patio enclosure, unquote, in question was erected a year ago and subsequently used and occupied in clear violation of Baltimore City zoning code and building code permitting requirements, including continuing on with construction and occupancy in violation of a city-issued stop work order. Before I close, I'd like to note 2 interesting comments pertaining to Mr. Hoffberger's presentation. He said that the existence of the structure presents somewhat of a problematic problem in his arguments. And to that I would say it would have been simplified had you instructed your client to remove the structure prior to your appearing here today. And second, he seems to be suggesting that the adjacent C1 zoning should be extended to this property. I'd simply like to note that my son made his purchase of the property knowing and understanding the zoning and the limitations it imposed on the use of his property. And shame on Mr. Kaplan if he failed to take note of those same limitations when he purchased his property. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Before we close testimony for opposition, is there anyone else here today who would like to speak?
Chair, I have some questions for Mr. Hoffberger. If this,
Sure.
Sorry, could I just address some of those things first, or do you want to ask questions first?
why don't
What was on top of your mind?
yeah?
Sure, that's
Why don't
fine.
I ask questions and then please note and happy to have you have the last word. We talked about the difference or the peculiarity of this structure compared to others. What about the lot size? Is the lot size peculiar to its neighboring?
It is a wider lot.
Some more space.
Than its neighbors.
One of the things that we talk about sometimes when we're looking at variances is the size of the variance. Is there a reason why you could not build the structure? Like, why did the structure have to be so big?
Well, I can explain why it was built the way it was and why Mr. Kaplan chose to build it the way he did. And we could talk about other options if they're available.
Yeah, I mean, why did it have to be so big?
Sure.
Why did he build it the size
One of
that
the
he did?
reasons is that the pre-existing conditions of the backyard already have a pre-existing wall, and the choice was made to build on top of that wall, in part for continuity of design, but also because the C1 properties to the east run the full length of his property, and so the desire to create some separation was extended to the end of the property. So there were existing conditions that sort of lent itself from a design kind of feasibility standpoint. And then the other was that he wanted the separation throughout.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, are there any other?
I'm going to give you the last word. Any other questions from Mr. Hopper?
No other questions.
Thank you. Just want to respond to a couple notes in the opposition. One is concerning safety. We recognize, as you know, I think I've made clear that the structure in its current form has not passed building fire inspections. Again, this is the process by which we pursue the ability to get those inspections conducted. So this was constructed without permits. We are pursuing permits for the construction, and this is the first step in doing so. And if this is approved here and it goes through and we get subsequent approvals and then a building permit, there would be fire and building inspections. So that's just that. Regarding the C1, there's been some testimony in opposition that we want to essentially rezone this property to C1. That's not the case. We want variances because of C1 zoning next door, and that's just a detail to be clear about. The alleys. So just to be totally factual here, the alley to the west, in between 48 and 50, does not extend all the way across the properties, but it does extend to the end of Mr. Kaplan's structure prior to this unpermitted structure being erected. So that is what makes this a detached home. The 3-foot alley I mentioned is to the east, in between the properties on Light and on 50 East Montgomery. That is 3 feet based on city plats. So the record does, there's some testimony that's wider based on this picture. The city plats have measured it out and it's 3 feet. So I just want to be clear that that's what we're talking about. Finally, regarding the stop work order, Mr. Kaplan received a violation notice, which is independent from a stop work order, in March of 2025. He promptly called us to begin consulting with him on how to handle this. So the stop work order I was not a part of, but he would like to speak to the stop work order, if you'd like.
When we got the stop work order, after the stop work order, there was no work that was done afterward. So I don't know about if there's confusion of the timeline, but as far as once the stop work order was in, the workers were gone. And there was no more work that happened afterward.
Okay.
And immediately after that, I reached out to Al Barry and Chase to work with me in trying to work through the process.
Why didn't you get a permit?
Why didn't I get? I wish I did. The fellow that I was in touch with said that he builds these all over. It's considered like a temporary structure, and it's like a prefab piece that comes in from Turkey. He said he builds them all the time, and he said he doesn't get permits when he builds them. In retrospect, I wish I had.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have come here for a hearing, and I wish we would have gone through that process.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get to do it over.
Okay. Any other questions?
I did have one question, and I should look more closely. Are all the lot setbacks and bulk and yard standards the same if it is a detached dwelling versus any other use? Such that, because if it's your testimony and it's your client's testimony that the principal use will continue to be detached dwelling, are those setbacks the same as if it were not a detached dwelling? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Just to be clear, you mean just for example, a place of worship or something?
Or anything, yeah, for
Well,
example, yeah, or whatever it's gonna be. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
the
board.
R8 is consistent in its setback and in its bulk and yard regulations for detached dwellings versus the any other use classification. The row house has some distinct and obviously semi-detached as well.
Any other questions? Any last word?
No, we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Sorry, testimony was closed from the opposition, so I guess it's time for us to deliberate. I guess a threshold question. This looks like a detached dwelling to me, so I'm not going to use the row house standards for variances. I think that the detached dwelling standards are the appropriate standards for this property.
Pardon me, point of order. Was Mr. Kaplan sworn in before offering his statement about the
Yes, he was, sir.
construction period?
Yes, and clarification, I'm the only person that can call point of order in the hearing, sir. I'm sorry. But he was sworn in, so yeah, no problem. I guess we should start with the lot coverage variance. I'm struggling with the idea. I'm trying to find the peculiarity or the uniqueness of this structure, and beginning with the small alleyways on each side of the property. Trying to figure out how uncommon that is. In many neighborhoods, that's not that uncommon or unique.
Well, and then here's my question, is that if that is the basis of uniqueness, my understanding of the code is that the uniqueness has to be tied to the relief.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't find that it is, I can look at a map and say, yes, it is the only detached row house, maybe even in that area or in a 4-block radius.
Yeah.
But that uniqueness isn't tied to the variance.
Like,
That doesn't
especially
make sense
lot
to me.
coverage.
Right.
Variance.
Like that doesn't, if somebody's asking for a variance, I want them to state the peculiarity that makes it so they cannot meet that variance, not just it is peculiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, another part of the variance code, like I understand the need, and I understand we're here for the variance and the need to separate it from the use, but the variance does bring up very clear things about health and welfare, safety, enjoyment of other properties.
Yeah.
And so just from the structure, and what the structure
Function,
is.
yes.
That's the part that it is, we are here to talk about the variance, but the variance standards do tie it to use.
Yeah.
And we have photographic evidence of how it is being used. So that is where we have to discuss
I've
use.
seen
I'm not
photos
concerned.
of lights. I'm thinking is that injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property? We have testimony from a young lady that says the lights are on all day and all night. And they appear directly into her yard.
And it's the height of the structure too. Like if it was patio lights, that's different. But it's the amount of light.
Yeah.
So it's not, so.
Well, I mean, I think that each one of these 5 requested variances are all going to be repetitive in what we deliberate on.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that I think it's a little disturbing that this project's gone this far. Knowing permits should have been obtained. I understand that you're saying that you wish you had done that in the beginning, but it's not as so. I mean, there's not one positive thing we can build on.
I don't think so either. I just don't think so either.
And the opposition I think they checked all the boxes and all their concerns.
Yeah, definitely spent time going through the variance standards just to make sure that I was taking the applicant's concerns to heart, but I don't see them meeting those standards.
Yeah. So, we're here to discuss a maximum lot coverage variance. We're here to discuss variances for maximum lot coverage, maximum impervious surface, required side yard, and rear yard setbacks. The peculiar or unique features of this property, as identified by the applicant, have, to me, a very sort of very little to do with many of these variances. For example, I'm not sure how the peculiar, unique characteristics have anything to do with the maximum impervious surface variance or lot coverage. And so there certainly aren't any exceptional circumstances related to the structure or land involved. It's a rural house, beautiful rural home in beautiful Federal Hill. And remembering that we have to review this application as if it was not built. We just have to go with them on the merits of whether or not this structure is allowable, essentially, in the RA district in on this neighborhood. And so I'm inclined to vote no for all 4 variances. All 5 variances, I'm sorry, I keep saying 4. Reviewing and adopting essentially the planning staff's memos and comments and analysis are related to the application.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to just be extra clear, we have been provided the site plans. And so even just looking at the site plan, it's very clear that structure plans to go all the way to the parapet wall, and the height is the height. So even without seeing existing photos, we can imagine the height and the lot coverage as being injurious to the enjoyment of their neighbors.
Absolutely.
I am a no to all 5 variance requests.
And I'm in agreement. Do want to clarify one thing that you had mentioned. You said parapet wall.
This was on the site plan. It said parapet.
There's the architect over here,
Okay.
Wall. It was really close to the wall.
That's fair. I'm also in agreement. I'm a no for all 5 variance requests.
As much as I sympathize with the owner, bad advice is bad advice. When you work upon it and you get the situation, you have to take the bad result. And I too vote no on the 5 requirements.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you again for your time.
We want to take a brief 5-minute break. I'm gonna call you soon. Case number 25-136.
Good. Okay, so 25-136, 700 North Glenwood Avenue is a request to use the property as 6 dwelling units. Zoning administrator has determined variances are required. The subject property is located in a R8 zoning district, which requires 750, thank you, square feet of lot area per dwelling unit. For 6 dwelling units, 4,125 square feet are required. Lot enclosed is 1,050 square feet, requiring a variance of 3,075 square feet or 74%. But before getting to the variance, there's a matter of jurisdiction. In the records planning was able to review from the city, including the zoning card, we are showing this property as a single unit or a single family dwelling. And according to section 9701 of the zoning code, a conversion from a single to multiple dwelling units must be approved by conditional use ordinance of the city council. So therefore, planning recommends disapproval of the appeal unless the applicant can demonstrate that the property has a lawful authorization for 6 dwelling units.
Thank you. Please stand and be sworn.
You swear affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give in the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Yeah.
You were already previously sworn. What's your name again?
William Brogus.
And ma'am?
Layla Snyder, Laylasnyder.
So tell us about your project.
So our client first purchased the property 700 North Linwood with the idea that it was a multifamily property. The Zillow and like Redfin both stated that both stated that the property once was a thriving multi-unit which stored a dentist office and a local thrift shop, and we were not aware of the single-family dwelling until we received the email from the zoning administrator a couple days ago. In regards to it, the only the one family and confectionery store that was part of the zoning summary card that they sent. And then the only thing we could find that showed that it was multifamily was a dentistry office that was located at 700 North Linwood, owned by Maury Fetcher.
That was a commercial use, not a residential use.
It was mixed use.
Mixed use, okay.
So we're coming here before the board to see if it's possible to do a 6-unit dwelling.
Efficiency.
Efficiency.
Tell me a bit about, we might have some jurisdictional issues here, because it seems the city's records show that there have only been dual uses, single family above, basement commercial, I believe. And so, in development parlance, we might use the term mixed use, but the zoning code doesn't really recognize mixed use. Each use is an individual use. So the basement level was for commercial, and the upper level was for single family. So 2 separate uses, so mixed use isn't a use category for the zone, for zoning purposes. And so we need some sort of evidence to show that the multifamily use was a lawful use, if it did exist, and I don't think we have that.
No, we just have that it was mixed use with the commercial and the single family dwelling on the second floor. And our client is like, if he cannot, because he already purchased, the building's completed, he's bought 16 of them, and we're going between the mayor approval and y'all approval, trying to at least establish some type of multi-unit, whether it's a 2-dwelling or 3-dwelling, because if not, they're gonna probably wind up being a foreclosed or bankrupt on it.
Jesus Christ. Staff,
I'm sorry, you said the mayor approval and her, maybe I
No,
misheard
he
you.
has other properties, so some of them we are doing that route with the ordinance.
Mayor ordinance, this might be the only route for this one.
Okay.
It looks like, it might be the only route.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess the question is for the board, and I've actually, of staff, and well, since it's no opposition here, I'll say, like, in my prior life as a zoning attorney, I would have argued the mixed use is not a conversion. It's because it's already mixed use.
And I think we've done that before in the past.
And that would be my argument, is that because the intent is sort of give a notice to the community that you're going from one single-family residential property to more than that. But the distinction here is that mixed use always had some other component that wasn't just residential. Therefore, it sort of doesn't meet the conversion. It's already been converted. That'd be the argument. But I've heard, maybe this board or prior compositions of you have not always taken that position, but maybe it's case by case. And
Yeah, it's been case by case. I don't think we've been consistent.
so there's that issue, which maybe they can
How
speak
long
to.
has it been vacant?
It has not been vacant.
Has not been vacant, so there's no
He has
disconnect.
tenants in here that's gonna have to be moved.
Tenants living in the residential portion?
Yes, there's no portion, it's actually 6.
Oh, so
efficiencies.
there's no commercial residential, it's all,
Actually, 6 efficiencies, this is what he purchased.
okay.
I'm assuming and you said the client,
Yes.
the client is not here,
No,
right?
he's
obviously,
not,
but,
no,
they bought it.
He was sold a dream.
Is there any UNO? What,
Can't get anything until we approve.
The state records shows the purchase in 2022 did your client purchase it more recently than June 2022, or was it?
When he purchased the portfolio, someone else was managing it for him. So all he was receiving was his funds. And then everyone knows the market then fell in Baltimore, so I guess the illusion crashed. And now he's stuck with all these properties trying to figure out a way out of it.
Is this the ABC thing?
He's part of it in
Okay,
a
this is one of those
indirect
cases.
way.
Sure. I
Okay.
mean, that's how I kind
relevant,
of.
though.
Yeah. but I'm
Yeah,
saying-
that's
yeah,
what I mean. So
yeah.
tell us more about your client, how he came to purchase the property.
A gentleman sold him a portfolio, from what I was told.
Sure.
I'm sorry, can you say who it is? Because I have the owner's authorization, but you signed it in your own
His name is Gabriel, is the owner.
Gabriel.
Gabriel Wynn.
I don't have his last name in front of me, I'm sorry. He's from Argentina, so he
Yeah,
flies.
it's the same. Does he also own a portfolio property on?
That was the news today.
Yeah, that was in the news. That's why I was asking. Is it connected to?
Well, I know it's, what do we got, 10 properties? We have
Yeah.
10 properties.
This is.
Yeah.
So, when did your client contact you?
We've been working on it for 7, 8 months.
Okay. And so he currently does not reside in the
No.
United States. Okay.
He's been flying back and forth trying to figure out, some he
Yeah.
was able to sell off to people to be single-family homes, and
So I don't know how relevant it is, but just I'm curious.
Okay.
Is this just does he have a house on 33rd Street that's part of his portfolio, or you just don't know anything else about his portfolio?
nothing's on 33rd Street.
Okay.
He has Caroline Street, it's Caroline, Linwood, what's
Okay.
the other ones?
That's okay. I
Mount.
just was
It's
curious.
just different, they just spread it out.
We've
through
had this come up before, so I was just curious if it was the same owner. But another.
There's a bunch.
I expect to see
There's a
more
lady from
news.
Virginia that has 200 houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Is there a way, we're trying to understand is this a conversion? That is a threshold issue for us, because if it is, then only an ordinance could get you to conditional use.
Right. And we thought that this wasn't one because majority of ones that we sent were sent straight to the ordinance. This one came to you.
Okay, so the zoning administrator sent it here.
Yes.
So I think,
I'm looking at the history. There's so many cases. If this, sometimes people do apply direct.
Yes. So we have, the rest of the cases, we're waiting for the councilman to start the process. But 2, one went through because it had the lot size, and this one, and one other one we have on the 16th came to you.
okay.
If there were zoning records of a history of multi-use, then the zoning administrator could have granted it themselves.
Yes.
Throwing that out there.
All
It was
right.
referred up here because there was no zoning history for multifamily units.
Sure.
I thought it was referred for
And what was the last authorized, what date was that?
I have it up. Oh, let me go back.
Is it on the paper? The one that we have for the checklist.
The last one was 1990. And it was use portion of premises as a flea market. 98, I guess, because it's not, the case was 97. And then in 53, Dr. Jerry Stepan, which I'm assuming was the dentist, erected the second story in 1953.
I see an authorization in 1999 to use the basement for a variety store.
And and for the upper levels, it was a single family zoning. Do we have that?
It didn't, well, then that specific use and occupancy permit in 1999 didn't say what was happening upstairs, but then,
In the zoning cards.
right, but so but it's a one, because then the
Yeah.
subsequent permits that were issued, so in 2017, there was a permit issued for electrical wiring for one apartment, one dental office, one commercial and basement meter per code, so.
Yeah, there's a zoning card that says one family plus the confectionery store and basement. So one family on top. So this is 6 units.
Yeah.
Going to 6, yeah, but I guess I don't see the history of 6
Yeah. So it must have been
efficiencies
a
or
legal, an
otherwise.
illegal
And
conversion.
actually, one flag I should have flagged earlier for Mr. Mercosi is even the layout, like the windows showing on the units, which I'm guessing sorry to talk.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Is the plan kind of the existing conditions, or are there changes?
It changes to because it's, like I explained to him, once approved, if it's 3 units, 4 units, or 5 units, that we're gonna have to pull permits, redo it, and meet the fire codes. That's gonna be required, because you're gonna have 2 means of egress and things like that. So he knows there's another step that he has to deal with. But the cost of it to take it to a single family, he will never recoup anything.
Right, but I guess even, so the plan submitted with part of the application,
Yes, that's the layout that's currently there.
so then the question I've had as a non-architect is, like, some of the bedrooms aren't showing windows.
Yeah, it's only 1 bedroom, or one is just a efficiency altogether.
Code, from building code requirements, it's not compliant, but we're not here.
Right, I mean, not even close, I was saying, like, not even like close such that the 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Even the single exit doesn't apply here.
So this is very much an illegal conversion in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, is your testimony that it's, like, there are 6 different tenants living in
Yes.
the property?
Do we believe this is a single family residence or mixed?
Well, I
Well,
don't think
or
it's.
commercial.
I don't think it's anything. Well, like, I mean, what
Magic
do you mean?
question.
This is like, do you mean what it like if none of this stuff was happening, how would we classify this building? Or what would be the allowable use? Is that what you're asking?
My question is, if we all agree that this is a single family home, then it's very clear that we don't have the jurisdiction to approve this application, and it will have to go to the city council for an ordinance.
There's no evidence even in the zoning that this was anything different than anything other than a single family.
Yes.
But no, I mean, there is, because the zoning card did have the one, well.
Commercial.
The commercial.
But as the chair is explaining, commercial separate use than residential.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I guess then the question, is it count as a conversion that requires council ordinance or not?
Yeah. Looks like, yeah. Huh? Man,
I don't think we have the jurisdiction
yeah.
to do this.
I do believe that this should go to the city council, and I think even for public policy reasons, I believe that your client should really reach out to his council person to see if there's a way they can fast track the ordinance. I understand that he's been in place, he might have been defrauded, and so to the extent they can help him get this, get this rectified, I think. This is Madison. This is 12. Madison Easton, the council person would be
13th district.
This is 13. Okay. So, yeah. Reach out to your council person and see if you can get this into the mayor's office. I would say to see if this can be, because we don't have jurisdiction, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And I will say, it's probably, because we don't have to be on the record, but this is the legislation that's pending for the council that Councilman Blanchard mentioned about allowing conversions by right would be a
I
benefit.
think
So
that's only
therefore,
for 2 dwellings.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, your square footage is gonna limit you even with that law,
But I
so
think
you're
it's-
never
But
gonna get
the
six.
principle being that you wouldn't avoid an ordinance, so
Oh, yeah.
if the law were passed and if the testimony from people like your client were
Yeah.
entered to say, hey, this is an example where it would be a burden that would be reduced if
Yeah,
this law were in place.
this is why we need it. So,
Floors.
um,
Oh, did you ask how many floors there
Do
are?
you, I know it's on the record, do you know when they're going to decide on that rule?
I actually do not. I saw the committee hearing was yesterday, but I didn't see what
Did not go
happened
well.
in the committee hearing.
unfortunately, the hearing did not go well. But
Yeah.
I want to say, I think we all agree that we don't have the jurisdiction here.
Yes.
So thank you. I think we can now go off the record.